You're listening to What It's Like with Luce, a podcast highlighting ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm your host, Lucy Norris, and on today's episode, I'm sitting down with winner of Formula E's Open Talent Call for presenters. Growing up, this week's guest was not one to ever be camera shy. Discovering a love for talking alongside a flair for creativity, it wasn't long before she found the perfect outlet in setting up a YouTube channel. Expanding her online community through engaging content led to numerous opportunities in the world of television presenting, and once she got a taste, there was no going back. Working with the likes of the BBC and British Council, she fell in love and decided to apply for the role at Formula E. To take us through the entire journey, here's what it's like to be Derin Adetosoye. Welcome, Derin. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me today. How No worries at all. So I think the best starting point to kick everything off is to go all the way back to the very beginning, the start of everything, and just chat a bit about what you wanted to be when you grew up.
So I think growing up, I have always had a thing for anything creative and talking and in front of the camera. As a child, I did dance and absolutely loved that. I did piano. I just always enjoyed doing something, and that's in front of the camera, can have a chance to talk. And so that kind of led perfectly into what I do now, which is content creation and presenting. And I think it was sort of inevitable that I would end up, having a YouTube channel because it incorporated all of the things that I love doing. And that obviously transitioning into presenting. But as a child, I was a very talky. I want to perform. I just, that was me. I was that child.
Yeah, literally, so was I. So you're not alone there. And so I suppose there's so much to get through, but maybe if we start with, I'm presuming your YouTube channel came first before everything else. Am I right in saying that? So can you take me back to that first day you, I don't know, got yourself a camera, however it was that you started recording, and your decision behind putting yourself online?
Yes. Gosh, so I think that was about 5 to 6 years ago now. And back then, YouTube was nothing like it is now. It's evolved so much, and I think it's incredible to see the growth. But back then, YouTube, everyone was just posting whatever content that they wanted to do. And my friend and I at that time had a thing where every time we had gone shopping, we would FaceTime each other and pretend to do hauls of clothing. And she was like, "Gosh, Darren, you're so good at this. You should create a YouTube channel." And I was just I was 15, 16. I was just yeah, sure, why not? And that's literally how it started. There was no real thought that went into it, because YouTube, as I said back then, was just a space where you could just upload a video and just have fun with it. And I'm really happy that is when I entered YouTube, because it's interesting to see how it is now and how much more, competition there is, and how you have to really have almost a business plan with YouTube, which is crazy. But yeah, it was just off the cuff. I was just with my friend. It was almost like a dare, and I was just yeah, why not? I think the 15-year-old, overly confident, just didn't put two thoughts into anything. Derin was just why not? And so yeah, that's how I started, and the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah, I love that, because I feel in terms of YouTube, now joining YouTube and things like that, as you said, it's so much more of a business move for people, or, they start it in order to achieve something else, or it's, one of those platforms. Yeah, exactly. So I guess my next question is, if you were to start a YouTube now, would you do it? Or do you think that the platform's been not ruined, but maybe tainted a bit in terms of how people are using it now versus, as you said, just the off the cuff thing because you enjoyed doing it back then?
That's such a good question. I think I would definitely still do it now, because I love creating content. I love the community aspect of it and being able to speak with so many people. But I think that I'd maybe probably be a bit more almost I don't want to use the word self-conscious, but because of how it is now, it's if you're starting a YouTube channel, everyone's oh, all the eyes are on that, and it's maybe there's almost a pressure with, you know, the level of quality that everyone's doing versus, as I said, back in the day, 5-6 years ago, it's like people were filming on their phones. Like, it was just a completely different atmosphere. But I definitely would still create it, and I wouldn't say that the platform has been tainted, because if anything, because so many people are on it, there's so many different sections of the platform where you can just, you know, watch this type of style of video or X, Y, and Z. But I think that in terms of content creation, it's something that I love doing, and it's like my outlet to express my creativity. So I would definitely continue doing it.
Yeah, I think that's so it's so interesting to hear from someone that started when, as you said, it wasn't such a big thing. And so can you take me back then as well to when your channel started to grow? You know, I suppose when it flipped from being something that you were just having fun, enjoying doing, into something where you're kind of like, okay, you know, this could be maybe a bit of a side hustle or even a career for me one day. When did that seriousness approach, that's not the right way to explain it, but like, do you know what I'm saying? When did you start taking it seriously?
Yeah, no, I get you completely. I think that, so I started my channel when I was, as I said, I think 15, and I had like some videos, like morning routines, like that was real OG YouTube, like what's in my bag, you know, those videos.
Yeah.
Well, like in numbers wise, but I think it was when I was 16 and I decided to do my very first vlog. So all my videos prior were just sit down videos, you know, like straight to camera, and I thought, okay, my GCSE results day is coming up, why not vlog it? This would actually be an interesting video to share. So I decided to do that, and that video literally like blew up like crazy. I'm sure you've seen results day videos just have so many views on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then off the back of that, I was requested to do loads of like education and study videos. My channel prior to that was like beauty and fashion, and I've been gifted some stuff and, you know, like done unpaid things with brands at that time. But as I transitioned into doing study videos and education sectors, that's when you know, like the collaborations and partnerships began to happen. Yeah, whilst I was doing study videos. So I'd say it was about a year, 2 years into doing my channel that it all began to sort of slowly take off. And yeah, it's just crazy to like, it's just so nice to look back at old videos and to reflect on that time and just constantly see how things develop. But yeah, I remember being so surprised that that many people would be interested in like study tube, but now it's like the whole sector on YouTube, which is brilliant.
Yeah, I think it is so funny, the different things that kind of take off and then create their own little niche online. So I suppose when it came to you turning 18 or whatever age it was, I'm just presuming that you graduated from school, or I don't know, your school system's a little bit different to ours at home. But when
Yeah,
you did your when you did your A levels, you were finished with school. What made you decide to, I know that you studied fashion at London College of Fashion, right? So what made you decide, I suppose, to go down the further educational route instead of maybe doing what people might presume you would do after building that community online, going full time with that, and I suppose leading your life in that direction?
again, that's such a good question, Lucy. So for me, because I had been doing YouTube alongside my studies, and as you kind of worded, more of like a side hustle thing, and I kind of built a system which worked in terms of time management of like, this is what I need to do for school, and then these are the pockets of free times that I have to, you know, film or edit or shoot for a video. I knew that it would be something that I'd be able to continue doing in further education, and I love learning, and I knew that I wanted to go to university. So it was sort of a question, it wasn't a question of like, I need to stop one thing to do the other. I very much felt comfortable in like the routine that I built. In terms of studying fashion, gosh, that's a whole other story in itself. I was actually went to study business at university.
Oh, okay.
Really random. And it's even like, if we're to just briefly talk about that, it's so interesting because as we discussed at the beginning, like I've always known what it is that I like doing, you know, like the, you know, talking, being in front of the camera, like really creative stuff. And I remember when it came to A-level selection, because I did quite well in my GCSEs, my school were like, okay, Derin, you need to like do STEM, like do STEM subjects. And I was just like, okay, I didn't know anything. I was 16, so I trusted that decision. And I remember my initial options wanting to be, you know, like media and English, like subjects that I really love and really hone in on those communication skills. But I decided to do, you know, maths and economics and biology for my A levels instead, which to look back on now, it's something that I actually laugh about. But thankfully, I was like I didn't make my results to study at business. I missed it by 1 mark, which
Oh my
again,
God.
it's
That's so
crazy.
mean when that happens. Oh, it's the worst.
Honestly, and I got a remark, and I remember at my GCSEs I got a remark and it went up. But then for A levels it didn't quite happen. But I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason, and going off of that course of doing business and economics, I think really worked out for the better, because it allowed me to go into clearing and pick a course that I really wanted to do, which was fashion communications and public relation. And from going to LCF and staying in London, I had the most incredible university experience and just really grew as a person, as cliche as it sounds. I thrived off of like that environment and the independence and the fact that there are just so many incredible diverse people in the city that I could build those connections and relationships with. So yeah, I studied fashion and that was great. And through being at the London College of Fashion, I had even more opportunity to create content and do more YouTube videos, and then also work with the university within their communication and press department, like hosting their fashion show or doing coverage for press for them. So it worked hand in hand, and I always like reflect on it, just thinking, gosh, how different would life have been if I had, done like an economics course at the University of Warwick. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that would have definitely been a different experience from LCF. And so I suppose like even whilst you were doing fashion and that was kind of maybe becoming your new path, did you still always know whilst doing that it was going to ultimately be media and presenting that you were going to go into? Or did you have any moments of, changing your mind, looking more at PR, that kind of thing? Or how was your thought process during that time?
So I think when I first started LCF, I definitely went into it with an open mind, because funnily enough, I don't know if you had this book, but there was like a Teen Vogue handbook that was like like the Alexa Chung and It book. That was
Yeah.
like book. There was this Teen Vogue book that I had when I was younger, and one of the courses in the book that someone was speaking about was this, pretty much the exact same course that I studied at LCF. And I remember when I was like 15 and creating fashion videos on YouTube, I'd always had it in my mind, like, this is the course that really speaks out to me within fashion. So when I actually then got a place on that course, I was thinking, maybe this is actually an alignment, that this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah.
So I definitely went into it with an open mind of like, okay, obviously I love doing YouTube, but like, look where you are now. You have such great opportunity to explore if the fashion industry is where you want to build your career in, and if it's what you want to do. So I went into it with an open mind. I did loads of internships. I did London Fashion Week. I worked at incredible brands. And then after about a year and a half, I was like, okay, as much as I'm enjoying this, I'm still always leaning back to the YouTube, the talking, the content, the presenting. And so I chose not to ignore it this time around. So I finished my degree, enjoying it, but having it in my mind, I don't think this is what I'm going to do post-graduation. And so, yeah, it was good in that sense, because I was able to just have fun and make the most of everything. But post-grad, and especially with everything that happened with COVID and like having all of that time to just think, it allowed me to really just sit down with myself and say, okay, whilst you've done this degree, you don't want to do this, what is it that you want to do, and how are you going to make that happen? Because with YouTube, something that I'd always been aware of, that opportunities can just come like this. And it's like, you may not even be looking for it, but an opportunity comes. And I think I wanted to have a bit more involvement with how those opportunities were coming, which for me is why, again, I never thought that like just not going to uni and doing YouTube would be something that I'd be doing, because it's like, it's so kind of up and down, you never really know. And so in that period of reflection post COVID and everything like that, no, not post COVID, we're still in COVID pretty much.
Unfortunately.
Post graduation and in the midst of COVID and the reflection, I said to myself, okay, I love doing the presenting, I love making videos, I love creating content. How can I make this a career, and a career that I'm very much in the driver's seat of, versus just having everything come at me? And that's what led me to apply for my master's in broadcast journalism at City. That's obviously what led me to apply for the open talent call for presenters, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was like the first time that I really had clarity that this is what I wanted to do. And I then was just like, okay, how am I going to make this a reality?
Yeah, I love that. That's so amazing as well, because I feel like so many people, either never have that moment of clarity or don't get it till they're like in their 60s or whatever. So it's really cool that, you really made yourself sit and decide what you were going to do, because you did have a lot of options in I suppose a lot of different avenues as well. So I know that you've done, before we talk about the talent call, which you'll definitely get to, because it's so exciting, but I know that you had a few other presenting, I suppose what you would call professional, I'm using air quotes here, presenting jobs like with BBC and things like that. So talk to me about when you really started to dip your toe into the professional industry and what that was like.
Yes. So I have had the opportunity from my YouTube channel to do presenting or quote unquote professional experience, which for me is just incredible. It's mind blowing to have that transition to like from digital media into that like traditional media. So the first professional presenter thing that I did was for BBC Bite Size, and that was when I was, I think, 17 years old, because I remember my mum had to be the chaperone. Yeah.
Okay.
I was 17 years old, and I got flown out to Northern Ireland, and we shot, myself and another YouTuber, Jack Edwards, shot the Exam Essentials web series for them. And that for me was just crazy. Imagine the first presenting thing being for the BBC. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you definitely set the bar high for yourself.
It was crazy, but I had the most amazing time. Jack's incredible. I mean, we're still super close friends to this day. The team, the production team, the BBC, they were all just, it was an incredible thing to do with them. And but yeah, I was definitely a bit nervous doing that, because I was 17 and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Sure.
But it was my first sort of introduction to the world, and I loved it. And I knew that there was lots of potential there for me, but it was something that I sort of was like, okay, this is a great experience, and I just banked it, because I didn't know how to like, do more of that. It came to me, so I was like, okay, I banked it. And then later on, as I was continuing doing YouTube, I'd have more opportunities pop up. So for example, presenting for the British Council, which was in Bristol. So that was again really cool to do. And I presented a series of films to be distributed worldwide for students to like learn English. So that was really cool. And it was like shot in different categories for age groups, so like some for like really young kids, some for people my age, teenagers, etc. And at that point I had done sort of more, I'd say like less professional but still presenting experience, in the sense of like, hosting stuff or like doing lives and like Instagram lives and stuff. And so I'd become a lot more comfortable and confident in my ability. So when I did British Council, that was cool, because I was like, this is actually the direction that I'm looking to go towards. And then that opportunity came at the perfect time, and I really enjoyed doing that. And off the back of that, other things sort of progressed. So yeah, as I said, in between I did like the London College of Fashion show, I did some stuff for Bright Network, and just little bits in between. But I think, as you said, the bar being set with BBC Bite Size was just like a mind-blowing thing. But it's been really cool to just continue doing bits as I've been at university and as I've sort of grown up. But I'd say it was probably the last experience that I did before lockdown. It was in February of 2020, so literally just before everything hit the pandemic. Was the London College of Fashion show, where I hosted the backstage and did like the social media takeover.
Oh, cool.
And that for me felt like, okay, I love this. This is exactly what I want to do for a career. And yeah, as I said,
Yeah. Well, you've certainly made sure, put yourself on such a good standing. And as you said, BBC as your first job, I don't really think you can get bigger than that. Well, maybe like talking about your next opportunity, you've definitely gone up and up. So yeah, for people that don't know, you applied for the open talent call for Formula E. I'm not going to go into trying to explain what that is for people because I'll get it wrong, but it's basically like electric Formula One, I think. So yeah, talk to me about that. That must have been such a whirlwind experience for you.
Yeah, it was the craziest experience. So Formula E, they are an electric street racing series, which I absolutely love because obviously I think we can all agree motorsports is fun. Like it's cool to
Yeah.
watch, it's exciting, like you never know what's going to happen. So it's a really engaging sport to watch. But with regards to Formula E, I love the sort of purpose-driven aspect of it. So it's completely carbon neutral, and it was founded actually to counteract climate change. And I just think within the entire motorsport, it's doing such incredible positive things, and for me I was incredibly attracted to that. So yeah, they launched the open talent call for presenters a few months ago, and it was essentially an opportunity for young, like Gen Z individuals to put an application video out that was like 30 to 60 seconds, explaining why they think they'd be a good Formula E presenter, and just kind of express your personality a bit. And the prize of that would be winning a contract to present at the opening race of season 7. So I was just like, okay, love Formula E, love racing, love presenting, triple threat, boom, boom, boom. And it just came at the most incredible time because I had just had that clarity moment that we discussed. I thought, okay, this is what I want to do. So yeah, I sent it off. And then a few weeks later, I heard that I got shortlisted to the final 15. So it was from 800 to 15. And so
Wow.
when I found that, I was just like, ah!
Yeah, that must have been such a pinch me moment.
Honestly. And then, yeah, from 15, it was then taken over to the hands of the 3 judges, who are Maya Jama, who's obviously an incredible presenter.
Yeah,
I
I love her.
First, Daniel Apt, who's a Formula E driver, and Amazon Letty, who's an LGBTQ activist, and like such a great panel. And so they judged us 15 and then narrowed us down to 4. And then myself and the other 3 shortlisted individuals were then taken to Valencia for the pre-season testing before season 7, where we had to complete like different challenges, tasks, activities, which were then sent to the judges, and then they judged and then picked the winner.
That's crazy. I think that must have just been, it's almost like, oh, I'm going to sound so old comparing it to this, like X Factor or something like that. It must have been so much fun. And so the other thing I'm curious about, because I think it's amazing what you're doing, even just from a completely different standpoint, but being a female presenter in the world of motorsports, it's quite rare. And I know it's a notoriously male dominated world. So can you share a bit about what it was like being a female contestant in the competition, and then obviously you won it, so you're going to go into it being a young female starting out your career in motorsports. Did you find did you notice any kind of difference in how you were treated, or was it very neutral?
Again, brilliant question. So I think what was great about the talent call, the open talent call for presenters, was the fact that it was extremely diverse. So going into it, I kind of like had that mindset of like, okay, what is that going to be like? So then to see all of the other shortlisted candidates be revealed, and to see that there was such a mix of, male, female, and just we were all coming from such different backgrounds, I thought was really cool, and it's something that Formula E, as I said, really champion, and I think the talent call was the perfect example of that. So I honestly, again, when I saw the shortlisted candidates, for me, I was just felt really relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the final 4, it was actually 3 girls, 1 guy, which again, I was like, this is incredible. So I think prior to actually seeing how everything would unfold, I did have that in the back of my mind, but as soon as it all actually begun to play out, it was all good. And as I said, Formula E are incredible with diversity and everything that they're doing. So I felt good. I was in safe hands.
Yeah, that's so good to hear. It sounds like everything's moving, in a bit more of a positive direction, and maybe it will filter through into the other aspects of the sport as well, which would be great. So what is next for you? What's going to happen next, and what are your goals and dreams for the future?
Yay, I love this question. So in terms of the prize of winning the Open Talent Call for Presenters, as I said, it's the contract to present at the opening race of season 7. So that was actually already meant to have happened in January, but
Yeah.
obviously it had to get postponed because of COVID. It was meant to be in Santiago, but now the opening race is actually at the end of February, the 26th and 27th of February in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia, which
Okay.
is mega.
Yeah.
So exciting. It's also Formula E's first ever night races. So they're going to be happening at the night time. And I just think it's going to be so cool. So I'm joining them for that, which I'm really looking forward to. And then, as you've seen, I've also been presenting the Formula E with their new show Accelerate. So it's
Yeah.
basically like a sim racing competition, kind of mixed with a chat show, because we have Formula E drivers and team principals joining us. And so I've been doing that. And the final race for that is at the end of March. So that's what I'm
Okay.
working on. Yeah, I co-host it with Jack Nichols, who is the commentator of Formula E, of course, and he's brilliant, and the team are just really fun. So that's what we're doing. And then post sort of, Accelerate and the opening race in Saudi, I would absolutely love to continue doing stuff with Formula E, because I absolutely love it. They're incredible. And yeah, I'm every day, like, I'm just getting more and more into the motorsports community, and I'm just like, this is so cool. So yeah, that's hopefully the goals. And in terms of long term, I think it's always just continue progressing. I think growth and just progression is something that's important with anything that you're doing, and just continue working hard, putting in work, and just having fun and enjoying myself. I think that's what's most important. But yeah, I'm sold with motorsports. I absolutely love it, and I'd love to continue working Formula E.
Yeah, I've spoke to some other people that work in motorsports as well, whether it be drivers or then one of the presenters or Red Bull presenters for MotoGP, and they all said they were like, once you get a taste of it, you will never leave. Like you just get so addicted. So I'm sure you'll have a really bright future there.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I'm so appreciative of that.
And then, so I just have one more question for you, and I will let you get on with your morning. If I put your 10-year-old self in front of you today, having been through everything you've been through, both in life and work, career, all that kind of thing, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give that 10-year-old self moving forward?
Gosh, Lucy, you're coming through with all of the good questions. Oh
This is
my
a
gosh,
deep
wow.
one, making me think.
I never even thought about this. Okay, let me have a moment to think. I would genuinely say, believe in yourself. Short and sweet, but believe in yourself. And I think that can be applicable to so many different areas of life. But I think as individuals, we all know what our hopes and dreams are. Like, we all know what we want to get out of life, but then there can be so many external factors or people or environments that you're like, it makes you second question, that makes you pick a path. But I think believing in yourself, believing in your plan A, and knowing that regardless whatever the obstacles are, you're just going to keep pushing through, I think is something that I wish I definitely had heard as a 10-year-old girl. Or I mean, I probably had heard that, but I didn't believe it. So I
Yeah.
think just genuinely believing that, and just knowing that you can do it, and that the world is yours, I think that that's really, really important advice. And hopefully, even, I don't even think, it has to be towards the 10-year-old self. I think even to anyone that's listening to this and has that, that dream or that passion that they're not currently doing, or they think that they can't do it, I would honestly encourage you to just know that the world is yours and that anything is possible. As cliche as it sounds, to just keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I always say, when people say, oh, it's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, because it obviously sticks, it obviously works. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so interesting hearing about all of your experiences. Wish you all the best for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I've had the best time speaking with you, and thank you. And wishing you all the best for everything. I'm loving the podcast. Can't wait to see everything else that you're doing. And thank you for bringing me on.
Thank you so much for listening, and as always, please rate, share, and leave a comment if you like what you hear. And don't forget to follow @WhatIt'sLikePod on Instagram and Facebook. To find out more about Derin and her work, and to watch her new show Accelerate with Formula E, visit the links in the show notes. I'll be back on Thursday with more inspiring stories, but for now, this has been What It's Like with Luce.